Pretty Dece, here we go. Facebook.com/Pretty Show. It's time to geek out with Josh, your host.
What's up, everybody? I'm Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. Welcome to Pretty Dece, the short show about movies, comics, games, and all the pop culture in between. And today's story is one that I'm really excited about. This week, Netflix announced that they are bringing a Magic the Gathering animated series to their platform, and it is being brought to you by Anthony and Joe Russo, the Russo brothers, who of course are responsible for the Avengers films, the awesome directing duo. So, two of my favorite things coming together, obviously. The Russo brothers have made some of my favorite movies ever in the Avengers films. And of course, I have a very deep love for Magic the Gathering. I count that among one of my top hobbies. It occupies so much of my headspace and my free time, playing Magic and thinking about Magic and reading about Magic, and being invested in the story of Magic as well. Because many of you out there might think, well, Magic the Gathering, okay, it's a card game. How are they going to make an animated series about Magic the Gathering? What in the world? Well, you might not know that Magic has a very long-running storyline. Goes back, of course, the 26-year history of the game. And in the last, 6 or 7 years, Magic's story has really come into kind of its own. It's really had this awesome renaissance where they have kind of reset the story in some important ways. They've reined in the power of some of the planeswalkers, who are the main characters of the story, to make them a bit easier to write for. And they've really come up with and they've demonstrated some really human, believable characters. Yes, they're a part of these super larger-than-life fantasy worlds with magic and these magical creatures and dragons. But they, because they have kind of all this time to develop these characters over the course of years and years of set releases, they've done a good job in fleshing out really who these characters are. Up until now, the Magic story has been presented in books. It was in novels that were put out for years and years. Then it went online, and weekly they would put out storylines with the characters. And of course, these storylines also take place on the cards. So you will see the characters that you know and love in the cards. You will get the flavor of what's happening with the names of the cards and the art, and even the flavor text on the cards themselves. And now, most recently with the set War of the Spark, which is the current Magic set that's out, they went back to the novels. They actually put out a full novel again for this series. And War of the Spark, in many ways, is a big culmination for Magic's story. A lot of the things that they've set in motion years ago kind of came to fruition with War of the Spark, leading to a giant battle between really the kind of Thanos of the Marvel Universe and the assembled planeswalkers called the Gatewatch, which are essentially the Avengers. So there are a lot of parallels between what's going on in the Russo brothers' Avengers movies and what's going on in the world of Magic as well. So as you can imagine, this is something that I am just a little bit excited for, and I really hope that it lives up to my very high expectations. Now, one of the things that might make it not live up to my expectations is that the Russo brothers, they're not writing, they're not directing, they are executive producing. So that might mean that they have a very hands-on role, or that might mean that they're just putting their name on a project that they maybe have very little to do with. During this announcement, they talk about having a deep love for the game of Magic the Gathering, but of course, because this is a press release, it's hard to determine if that's real or if that's just kind of building hype. However, there are some people tied to this in more substantial roles that do make me feel good about the prospects for this show. The first is Henry Gilroy, who is signed on as a co-showrunner. He's done Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars Clone Wars, which are two animated series that have been reportedly extremely good. I haven't seen all of either of them, but I've seen a few episodes here and there, and yes, they've been very good. The other showrunner is Jose Molina, who's known for The Tick and Jordan Peele's Weird City show. And one thing I'm really excited for, the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse director is signing on as supervising director and co-executive producer, and that is, I will horribly butcher this name, but Yoroaki Mochizuki. Hopefully that's close. I'm very sorry. But obviously Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is fantastic. So any mojo that might rub off there is going to be good. As far as the animation goes, Bardell Entertainment is going to be working on that. They've worked on Rick and Morty, Teen Titans Go, and Netflix's The Dragon Prince. And then from there, we have some people who are working on production that have worked on Neophyte Dream Crisis, and even someone who's worked on Afro Samurai, who's working as a producer on the show. So we've got some important names aside from the Russo brothers, and I think the showrunner team that they put together with Gilroy and Jose Molina is a great team. That seems like a really, really good team to put together. So I have really high hopes for this animated series. We have no idea, aside from the teaser image right now that features Chandra, a fire-wielding planeswalker. We don't know anything else about who's going to be in this series or what storylines that it'll focus on. It could be going back, of course, all the way to the Origins set where they introduced some of these planeswalkers and went back to tell their origin stories. Or it could be focusing on more of the newer stuff. It could be the creation of the Gatewatch where these planeswalkers came together and kind of formed a team. Who knows? It could be telling an entirely original story that weaves in and out with these characters. We don't really know. Netflix, however, is putting together a pretty good roster here of animation. Obviously, Netflix and their Netflix originals continue to grow kind of day by day. They're really throwing a lot of money at originals. And they recently have been working pretty heavily on kind of getting the anime crowd excited about Netflix originals. So, of course, this is here. There's an Ultraman series. There was a Godzilla series. They've done several kind of anime or anime-inspired shows that are coming up, including an upcoming Pacific Rim show as well. So I think this falls right in line with that. And this is a great time for Magic as well, because it's never been more popular. Magic the Gathering Arena, the kind of digital Hearthstone opponent, is finally out. People are really liking that game, and Magic is getting kind of more eyeballs on it than ever before. So I think it's a good time in both Magic's history, and I think it's ripe for Netflix to put something out here that's really going to get a lot of eyeballs on Magic and a lot more people seeing it than have ever seen it before. So I'm super, super excited. Can't wait to hear more news about this. We have no indication of when this will be out, but I'm going to be anxiously awaiting more. So that's going to do it for Pretty Dece for today. Thank you very much for joining me to ramble on about how excited I am about this Netflix and Magic the Gathering partnership, team up, this animated series that's coming. I am beyond excited, and hopefully it lives up to these high expectations that I have for it. If you want to check out the past episodes of Pretty Dece, you can do that. Just head on over to prettydeceshow.com. Also check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/prettydece, and hit me up on social media. Let me know what you think about this Netflix Magic the Gathering series. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Pretty Dece Show.